to get this meeting started?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order at, I guess, 11:02.
Second of that motion.
What?
Second of that motion.
Thank you. First thing on the order of business, we did leave one thing off of the agenda by accident, and so I need to get board approval to add it. And we want to form an investigation, internal audit investigation committee due to past indiscrepancies and acts from the prior board. So does the board, I move that we do that. Is there any objections from the board? No objections. Okay. So I want to add that to the agenda along with the board vacancy. So we'll do that if you want to jot that in, but we'll have it in our records. Obviously, we're a new board for the whole HOA. We hope we meet your approval in the years ahead. I'm Sam Madden. I was appointed president.
Yay!
Thank you, Tammy. We have Mark Bryan. He's our vice president and our chief information officer. So he's our tech guy. We have Jeff Weaver. He's our treasurer.
Cool.
We have Kim Theoff, who is currently just a co-director. She does not have an officer position. So she provides more oversight than anything, but she also helps in other areas to make sure we stay on track.
So we don't have a treasurer or,
That's it. Jeff Weaver's the treasurer.
so we don't have a sergeant of arms or a secretary.
We do. So I'll get to that. So our secretary is actually Barbara Sutherland. She's an officer, but she's not a board member. And I went over this. How many of you were here at our election meeting? Okay, not everybody. So under Article 11 of our bylaws, the board, at its discretion, can appoint officers. And the officers run the day-to-day operations. And typically what's done is the president and the vice president play a dual role of officer and board member. The officers don't have a vote on what's going on in the association. The board members do, and the officers carry out the directions of the board. So in the past, they always made the secretary and the board member the same, the treasurer and the board member the same. And we want to go back more to our bylaws in order to provide a check and balance. So the officers aren't just running the way they wanted to run with no oversight. Cassandra Garibay, if you would stand up, please. She is our chief operating officer. So she will be handling things basically with the day-to-day operations, landscaping, getting bids for playground, cabana, sprinkler system. All those things are under her area, and that'll take a lot of pressure off the board where we can focus on other areas.
So did you fire the other people already? Did you?
I think we're going to go over some of that stuff.
Are there any questions on this setup, on this type of a setup?
Cool.
Yes, ma'am.
The people that handle certain responsibilities like her, are you going to give us a list of their names and their phone numbers and what their responsibilities are so we can call the right person?
Yes, we can do that. Do you get emails from me?
I beg your pardon?
Do you get emails from me?
Probably.
Oh, probably? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Okay, I'll
I
tell
sent you
you.
an email. I'm Sharon Adams. I'm on the society issues.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Since we're going to be sending out another letter in about 2 weeks, we'll put that in the letter, okay? And then as
Was
we...
the letter sent out?
Huh?
Was the letter sent out for this meeting?
Yes, there was. Did you
Did
receive
get one?
You didn't get one?
No.
We know about it.
We get emails, so we're aware of it, but the email, we
Right.
never got anything in the mail.
What's your name and address?
Would be Christine McAlpin.
How do you spell that?
Really?
McAlta?
MAKOWKA.
The Christine
Just like
with
it
C.
sounds.
Okay.
She wasn't.
Okay. Okay, I'll check that against our list. How long have you been living here?
She's the original owner.
Oh, okay. Um, Moving on, we do have a board vacancy. Mike Bullard resigned. It was unfortunate. It was basically, we had some personality conflicts, some disagreements over procedural, the way things were proceeding with the current board that he didn't agree with. Does anybody have any questions that, if you'd like more detail on that, I can provide it. Yes, Tammy?
I think that you should explain why.
Well,
Per our phone conversation yesterday, only because most of us are in the Facebook group that are in here. And there has been another Facebook group created where the new HOA group is being bashed. So I think that it should be explained why
explain further.
he resigned.
Okay. We have two options. We have three, a couple options. Okay. I've his resignation letter, my responses to him, copies for everybody. I can go over that and pass it out, or I can just pass it out.
You can just pass that out.
You want to just pass it out, that way save some time? And then we go to Q&A, if you're skimming over, you have questions, then we can have some questions at that time. So, the first thing I'm passing out, he posted something on the Facebook group. I'm just going to pass that around. We run short, let me know. That I thought was unfair, and I responded to him in an email because he made some implications towards the current board with no basis, and he gave no specifics. And I don't want people's minds running wild on what the heck we were doing. So that's this paper here, and you'll see my email response to him.
Question.
Yes?
Since the last meeting we had, we did elect officers. Was it not possible to use the tally sheet? Yes. Let me ask a question. Was it not possible to use the tally sheet since he had resigned to go to the next number with the highest number of votes?
Yes, we can do that. We can do that.
Which would have been, and I'm not playing, don't raise the card. But it would have been the standard. Yes.
Yes, and that's a very possibility. Under our bylaws, the board actually has the authority to appoint who they want for the vacancy. But what I want to do is get the homeowner input. I want to know what the homeowners want.
I think Jesse would be a good, I do. That's,
Okay.
hang on. I would like to make a motion. I think that he would be,
I don't know who that person was.
Jesse was the one that I was talking about. He was a good he went to school to be an interior decorator, all of that stuff. He said his main goal was to remove the old rickety, rackety Broadway Village
That's
sign.
almost that's what, about 6 years old?
I'm just saying, that was his main agenda, was to remove the older rickety, I'm quoting what he said. The older rickety, rackety Broadway Village sign out front, and to put in something more that catches the eye to the new generation of people. to bring them into the neighborhood. I do think that having a newer generation on the board and bringing Cassandra and
Barbara Sutherland.
Barbara Sutherland and a new generation onto the board would be something. So I make a motion as a homeowner that I feel that a Jesse would be a good fit for the board.
And I want to second that and
Okay.
second.
Yes.
Are you?
Carolyn. Okay, remember,
I speak for a homeowner.
But you're not.
Carolyn.
Okay, question before that. Is Jesse the next highest number that was on the list that we voted on?
I did the votes.
Yes, 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 he was the next highest. So.
Second.
Okay, Cindy.
And that's what I was going to add in making a second to that is if we took, I wasn't at that meeting, but I understand that you number the ballots and you
Right.
took and you had a ledger, and if he was the next one in line and he is open to taking the position, I second the motion that we.
That was going to be my next question. Jesse, are you open to taking that
Yeah,
position?
are you open to taking that position?
I am, like I said, though, to you before, I am in school as well, and I do work full-time. But I would like to see some type of change in the community. So, I mean, if you could work with my schedule, I would definitely do it.
Yeah, in fact, we also have to work with Barbara Sutherland's schedule. That's why she wasn't here today. I actually scheduled this meeting before realizing she had to work today as well. Now, just so Jesse's clear and everybody's clear on his role. So right now, our board is imbalanced. We have 3 officers that are also directors, but only one that's only a director. So my thought process is Jesse would be co-director, would not hold an officer position, because we have enough officers already. And so the officers can't overvote the directors. We would give Jesse 1.5 votes, and we would give Kim 1.5 votes, and that would balance it. They did a total 3 votes against 3 officers on the board. And if it ever lock ties, then we would come to the membership and ask what the membership wants. Okay, so Jesse, your work, because I know you're going to school and your work schedule and everything, so you're really busy. So being the fact that you wouldn't be an officer, your job would just mostly be oversight, come to meetings, ask questions, see everything that we're doing.
Yeah. I try to cut.
Pin us to the wall and say, why the heck did you do that? You know what I'm saying? So, that's good?
Yeah, I mean, if that's
Okay, are there any objections? No? No objections? Okay, we're going to have Jesse as our first director. Okay, got the rest of the sheets ready? This one, it starts out with Mike Buller's resignation. He used some pretty strong language. And you'll see some of my email responses. And then on the second page, you will see the board's response to his resignation. So if you would pass that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my original might be this on this one. Well, it doesn't matter. I got it. Okay, so next on the agenda,
Financial status.
what is it?
Financial status.
Okay, financial status, that would be Jeff Weaver.
All right, I'm not sure how many people actually know, but we created 2 bank accounts with BB&T, which is just down the street here from us. They've been more than helpful in setting up our accounts, and the required disbursement protocol will be that for each check that is written. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's fine. I'm sorry. Is this better?
Yeah.
Try to project. Okay, we've set up new accounts, new bank accounts with BB&T. BB&T is just down the street here a ways from us. We've set up both an operating and a reserve account with them. Just FYI, for disbursements, we're requiring 2 signatures. Sam's signature must be on all disbursements, and one of the other board members will be on the other. That way there's a check and balance on disbursements of any kind. Currently, our total deposits, which are still in transit, are approximately $194,000. We will be investing that as needed into our reserve account. Both accounts are interest bearing. And basically that's about it. I can go over our balance sheet from December on the key performance indicators for the association. However, I'm not sure if that would be a fair assessment of how the association is doing since that is a month behind. We're in the process of initializing TOPS. TOPS will give us a better ability to pull out and generate financial statements to report to the membership. And it'll also give the homeowners the ability, several abilities, to pay their dues online or by coupon books, which are going to be sent out probably by mid-February. That's what we're looking at. That's our date range. Any questions?
Are you going to do withdrawal, like a bank transaction that I did in the past? Automatic withdrawal?
You have that option, or you can go into TOPS and actually set up your account there and see all of your statement from where you've made payments, or walk into the BB&T branch with your coupon, or do an automatic debit from your bank account, or send in a check to the lockbox. And I think there's also the ability to do a credit card payment, but there's a fee for that. I'm not sure if anybody wants to actually utilize that type of payment. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Where is that bank located, sir? Is that up the street?
It's right up the street. BB&T, it's on the,
BB&T is a credit for what?
I'm sorry.
BB&T is a credit for Better Business?
No, Jesse, maybe you can help me with that since you work there. BB&T,
It's a Citibank.
Yes.
that's a
It's right before South.
that's
It
it.
used to be a Bank of
Across
America,
from
right?
Solomon.
That's right. So it used to be that.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
Everyone was talking at once. Repeat what they said.
Yes, ma'am. BB&T is located at the corner of Colonel and Broadway. So if you have your coupon with you, let's say you're running late, you didn't have time to make your payment, or you just happen to be in the area, take your coupon with you, and you can make your dues payment there, right at that branch.
And the address is.
I'll get you an address on. Yes, Jesse.
Just so that everyone is clear, I do work at that bank, and the coupon is required for the payment.
Yes.
If you don't have your coupon, we cannot take your payment out.
Did everyone hear that? If you don't buy at the branch, make sure you have the coupon with you, because they need that to process the payment.
There's a picture of the map.
Hey, there's the map. Here we go.
Where are we?
We're down.
Wait.
No, we're
No,
over
here,
here.
I'm sorry. I saw BB&T.
Yeah, we're down there.
There's BB&T.
And we're down further.
And we
There.
are,
Yeah.
there we go. So you just go down Broadway, it's right there on the west side.
Before you get to Centerville.
And make sure you say hi to Jesse if you go down.
Yeah, you see a Bank of America.
The branch manager's there, her name is Angela, really nice lady. Again, they've been more than helpful in helping us set up our bank accounts, and I'm sure they'll be even more important in helping us correspond or communicate with TOPS as well.
Any other questions? Okay. Let's talk about the budget a little bit, Jeff.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'll talk about it then, if that's okay.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So, we had decided, because the budget is really fluid right now, because we're getting operations back up and running, we're rebidding everything. So we're rebidding the landscaping, we're rebidding the sprinkler system, we're rebidding the pool maintenance, so we can, run more efficiently and make sure we get the best contractors at the lowest bid. And we're planning on doing that, re-looking at it like every 2 years, not just sticking with one company like for 10 years when we could have found somebody cheaper along the way that did just as good of a job. So we want to rebid like every couple of years. So the plan is to present the budget to the membership at the March meeting. Okay? Jeff and I will be working on that. In relation to the March meeting, let me ask this now. How do y'all like having this meeting on a Saturday morning as opposed to Tuesday or Thursday night?
This works well for me.
It works for you?
Perfect for me.
Okay, so we got a pretty good turnout. Okay,
Can we
so,
take a vote?
excuse me?
Can we take a vote
On
on the time of the meeting, Saturday or evening?
Yeah, in fact, what we could do in our next letter, since, there's only, a handful of residents out of our 196, we can put down a survey asking when their preference of a meeting is, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday morning. Would that be good for you? Okay, we'll do that.
Will it always be the first Saturday of the month?
No, it's going to be different Saturdays because of South Garland's schedule. If this is where we want to have it, which I think is better than Audubon, because Audubon's such a small room. Yeah. So like next month, the only 2 days we'd be able to have it is either March 16th or March 23rd. And that also depends upon Barbara Sutherland's schedule because she's, works on some Saturdays. So those would be the 2 dates, and I'll confirm that as soon as this meeting's over, which date that will be. In fact, I can do it before the meeting's over. I can step out if you'd all like to do that. Yes.
And just something to think about, if we're gonna have a floating meeting that kind of changes month to month. I know it's really hokey, but I like the old signs we used to put out that said tonight's the night.
Yeah.
And we would just put them out on the corner. And it doesn't have to say that. It could just say homeowners association meeting. And the day before the meeting, you just set it out, and then we would know. And then if we didn't know the time and stuff, we could reach out to you. I mean, I don't read my emails either on a regular basis, and so I would miss it if they said the meeting is tomorrow.
Well,
But I saw a sign.
would people prefer that if I can get a specific, like, second weekend, or second Saturday, third Saturday, if I'm able to do that, would they prefer that as opposed to? Okay, because then I'll try to do that. I just thought of that while we're discussing, because that makes more sense, then everybody knows, in case
That's always better.
So-
That's float around, I think.
Yeah. So, next month would only be the only one that would be, either the 16th or the 23rd. Also, since we're on the financial status, budget, and banking, I want to talk about the internal audit investigation committee. Jeff and I, we're both accountants. He's actually a professional accountant by trade. I have an accounting degree, but I'm actually a professional financial analyst by trade. And we're seeing some weird stuff in the past financials. For example, in 2016, the 2016 audit, which was just completed in May of this past year, the prior board refused to turn over the bank statements to the auditors. So the auditors said in their audit opinion, we can't render an opinion on these numbers because they won't provide us the bank statements. And at that time, we were at North Dallas Bank, and then they transferred everything to Alliance Bank, and then got a new audit firm. So we have no idea if even all the monies were transferred properly, things like that. And that's just tip of the iceberg. Is anybody here have that type of aptitude where they would like to be on this committee, or even just as a secretary? Or if you know anybody, spread the word around. And Carolyn, you would like to be on this committee? Okay, great. A motion to the board to have Carolyn on this committee. Yes. Cassandra.
Sam, how often would the committee meet and stuff like that? Maybe if they knew availability, it would be a little more helpful, like what the.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, these meetings are going to be outside of the regular open homeowners meetings. and closed board meetings, and we'll be reporting back to the homeowners and back to the board our findings. And the way I foresee it is, once the investigation's complete, we'll also be working with forensic accountants, we'll be working with the auditors, we'll be working with the board's attorney, possibly the Dallas County District Attorney's Office. Yeah, because when I talked to the assistant DA here in Garland, he said that the prior board, some of their actions rise to a Class A misdemeanor. So we're going to be looking at a whole bunch of things, and then as we go along, I'm thinking, you know, we'll make small reports, but then once the investigation is finished, we'll have a final report with help from our attorney on recommendations of courses of action. You know, we know there's been illegal foreclosures in our association. In 2017, we know that the board spent $13,000, wrote it off as a bad debt expense, and drove a woman out of her home who had been living there for 20 years. They purchased the house at auction for $1,000 and flipped it for $128,000. But the prior board, through my records request, hasn't told me who made all that money, who profited all of that. So that would be part of this investigation.
They flipped it for $180,000. That $127,000 never went through the title. It was like on a bill of sale or something.
Right.
Because it shows a sale, but the title was never ran on that thing. And the final title was $180,000.
It was $180,000. Okay. And our attorney that we have on retainer, his name is Julius Stave. He's actually, his specialty is real estate. So he'll be able to track down the money trail, the title ownership.
When you look
like
at
that.
the real estate deal when it sold, when it went up on the market to sell, it said in that web that it had new floors all the way through it, it had new granite tops all the way through it, it had a new AC unit, it had a new hot water tank and a new roof. Now, who paid for that? And
Yeah,
we pretty much know who did it, but who paid for all that? Because my house does not have granite all the way through it and all that stuff. So I kind of resent paying for all that and somebody else pocketing the money.
Right. I mean, there's so many questions unanswered. You know, and some things we pursue, it might be nothing. But we need to find out. And then other things we pursue might be like, oh wow. I mean,
This
you know.
committee, I mean, an hour a month, that's not going to come close to the time that's needed on this committee. It's not.
No,
That's a nice thought, but it's not going to work.
well, no, my initial,
Twice a week.
I
Well-
think, if I may interject,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think our first step in narrowing down, one, the time frame and what specifically we need to be looking at with regards to financial documents, is to get a professional auditing firm, provide them with the bank statements. I don't know how many of you are involved in accounting deeply, but one of the major red flags during an audit is when bank statements are missing. And I imagine you can pretty well figure out why. Okay, once that occurs, and we're able to give those bank statements to the professional auditing firm, they have the ability and the resources to track that down, where that money came from, where it went, everything like that. And if we need Julius for additional assistance, i.e. subpoenas, stuff like that, we can go that route too. But that's what we're looking at. We use that as a starting step. We get the professional auditing firm to start looking at those records. Then they give us recommendations or requests, and we go back. This is going to take several months, and you're right, a once-a-month type meeting will not make it. But
Yes.
our first step, though, is going to be getting a professional auditing firm in to look at it and start hammering at it.
Since the board refused to give the last auditor the bank accounts, can we get those bank account records now?
You bet.
yeah, we're going to get those, and actually what we're going to have to do is, at least a starting point, we're going to have to re-audit the 2016 books, the 2017 books, and then have an audit for the 2018 books. Even though they did an audit for 2016, 2017, it's meaningless because they wouldn't provide the bank statements.
It
So-
pretty much says on that audit that it's meaningless.
Yeah, exactly. You read the audit report? Yeah.
Yeah, there's an opinion rendered at the end of the report.
That's very good.
I've never seen, and I've been in accounting and done auditing myself for 27 years. I've never seen that kind of comment given at the end of the financial. That is like a major red flag. And frankly, I'm a little surprised that the IRS didn't look at it, because there are certain aspects that we could lose our tax exempt status.
Is that the same year that they bought the house, was in 16, or did they buy the house in 17?
It's in that time frame, and that's the problem.
So that's
We know what happened during
probably
that.
why
Right, we
I
know
thought
what
it
happened during
turned
that time,
over.
but we don't know.
I have,
Vegas
well,
City.
I have dates. I have dates of when they bought it on the steps. And their lawyer is actually the one that went down there, because he admitted that in one of our meetings. He's actually the one that went down there and purchased the house for $1,000.
Well, see, he was acting on behalf
I
of
know.
someone. You're talking about Glenn?
Yeah.
He bought it under HOA, okay, or HOA, he did, but he's the one that physically went down and did it.
That's
See,
what we went to.
and if you really want to get down to brass tacks, and I'm probably going a little off, I'll try to not veer so far. The proceeds from that sale should have come back to the HOA.
Oh, yes, it should.
That's the main, in my opinion, that's the main issue.
The date of sale was December of 17, but the title was ran January of 18. So, I mean, that's current enough.
And then you get a homeowner that's going to be kicked out of their house.
And the board spent an extra $13,000, I just found out in the past 2 weeks, forcing them out of the house. I knew this lady, they tried to boot her out of our house once before 10 years ago. And I guess she refused to leave, so they filed some court document, and they spent $13,000 of our dues to kick her out, and then they wrote it off as bad debt expense. So we can't recover that money.
Did they really?
Well, unless we could recover it through them, you know, if we pursue any civil action.
Did they really spend that money getting her out of the house, or did they use some of that money to fix that house up with?
Good question. That's
a good question.
That sounds to me
Or
like
did-
about the kind of figure it would take to do some of this
Or
stuff.
or did they buy it to buy a truck and a fancy car?
How many people do you think you would want on this
Well, I'm
investigative?
thinking no more than 4 to 5. Now, Carolyn, you had a question? And then I'll get to Lana.
In reference to getting the bank statements, can the bank itself give you a representative of the board without trying to go to an individual who might have been on the prior board?
In theory, that's correct, and what will happen is, let's say we hired a Bolton company who did the audit prior. Let's say, okay, we want you to pull these records to conduct a complete audit. DeVolt then says, okay, we need to request these bank statements from X Bank, Dallas and Alliance Community Service. And what we do, we give authorization to DeVolt to act as our agent to pull those records, and we get the ball rolling.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, because we seem to infer that it's difficult to get the bank statements, in actuality, they can be obtained.
Yes, they can be obtained.
They just didn't authorize
They
it.
just didn't authorize them to get them, or wouldn't provide
They
them.
weren't forthcoming now.
Lana, you had a question?
Well, that was.
That was your question? Okay.
Sam.
Him.
I don't know your name, but I would love for you to be on the committee.
I will be on the committee, I won't be the secretary, but I'll be on the committee.
Okay.
Okay. Cassandra.
That's a good.
I wouldn't mind being the secretary as long as it doesn't conflict with my work and school hours. And I
Okay.
also don't mind posting.
Oh, okay, great.
So, Sandra, and secretary,
So we have a 5-member committee then.
and then
What was your name?
Karen.
Karen
Karen.
Karen Earn,
Flom. All right,
What's your last name?
Long, L-O-N-G,
thank you, Karen.
Story for England.
So first let me put this as a motion to the members to have myself, Jeff, Karen Long, Carolyn Mosby, and Cassandra Garibay as part of the Internal Audit Investigation Committee. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, The board? Any objections? Okay, that motion passes. Now going forward, because I'm asking, obviously, the members to vote on these things. Now, under our bylaws, you know, the prior board would never ask the members to vote on things unless it was a members' meeting. Okay, so technically, the members' vote is non-binding legally per our bylaws, but I want to have you all, you know, engage with us, and I want to measure the sentiment of the homeowners, and we want to work for the homeowners. So even though it's not binding, you know, obviously, we're taking that into a major consideration in how the board is going to vote, and that's why I want to do this at this type of thing at every meeting. Is there any questions on that type of procedure? Okay, and that's something you know, we can discuss at future meetings too. In fact, we'll get right into that. So, anything else, Jeff, on the financial status?
I think we pretty much covered it, unless there's
Okay,
any other questions with
okay.
regards to the financials or audit.
Okay, so now, every May we have an annual, obviously we have an annual meeting to vote in new members. In the past it's worked, we've had 2 members up for re-election 1 year, 3 up for the next year, and it was 2-year terms. So we always had an election every May. Considering all the chaos we had this past year, and we just got a new board December 27th, I don't think, and you can, any here can tell me if they disagree, I don't think the membership wants to have another board meeting in board election in May. Was that a fair statement? Okay, that's what I thought. So what I would like to see, and get your input, is use this members meeting in May to change our bylaws. Because our bylaws haven't been changed since 1994.
Agreed.
I agree. I
Everybody
make a
agrees to
motion
that?
to
Motion.
use the members' meeting in March to change the bylaws.
In May?
It's in May.
Okay, we have a,
March.
okay, we have a question from
May.
Carol.
Question on the board. Now, bylaws is a difficult, complicated process. You just can't, you know, come up with business. So, prior to coming to a consensus, should there not be a committee to propose changes to maybe Article 1, 2, or 3? I'm just throwing out articles, I don't know. Rather than trying to sit forth in meetings such as this and say we're going to change bylaws. Because I've done bylaws before, and you just, you know, with this many people, there's going to be a whole lot of disagreements, and the select the articles in the bylaws of which part we're going to change, and then present it to the floor, and then go for a vote. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, it's a very good suggestion, because I've also been involved in changing bylaws of 2 nonprofits, so I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, now, do people understand we have 2 different governing documents? We have our bylaws, and then we have our CCRs, which are covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Are people familiar with that? Kind of. You're familiar?
I think I do have a copy that I obtained years and years ago. I have to go back.
Hold on, somebody else.
I was just wondering, how many people, I've been in my house since it was built. I don't think I even have those things anymore. I think ahead of time, if there's some place we can go to obtain copies that we would need to be reviewed. But I'm sure I'm not the only one that does not have copies.
The bylaws are on the website, correct?
Website's been taken down by animals.
So me and Sam, I think both have copies for sure. Anybody who needs a copy, if you want to just let me and Sam know, I'll be more than happy to make them.
Is there not a website anymore?
Let me ask Carolyn a question, then I'll get to you. Is that okay? What do you think of we, you know, mailing out a copy of the bylaws just to everybody and say, this is what we're going to be working on. We want your suggestions.
Yes, exactly.
And then bring it back to
Everybody.
a committee.
Okay, but even if you do that, you know, that's good, because a lot of us probably haven't seen them in quite a few years. Then we can look at them and see which ones, but still at the same time, to come to a mass meeting to try to change Article 1, unless we, I mean.
And
what you want to change about it, and then, take a vote on that. That could work. But I'm just saying, just to have a regular meeting and say, we're gonna change our bylaws, we'll be here all day.
Right, and actually, my thought process is exactly what you were saying, we would get together, at first I was thinking it would just be the board, but I like the idea of a committee. And then we'll suggest, okay, this needs to be changed, this needs to be changed, vote in favor, yes or no, or approve, disapprove. Yeah, because because then we can just go through the items, boom. So I agree with that. Cindy and then Lana. Cindy's been asking.
My question is, I know that since we changed our bylaws, there have been a lot of state regulations and changes. Would those affect our bylaws? Is that what it would affect? I mean, do we need to take into consideration changes that the state has made in HOAs when we redo these? I don't know. Is that, I'm just asking, I know, does it affect our covenants or our bylaws more?
It affects both. I don't know which one affects more, because I haven't, gone down and say, okay, here's all the changes from state law.
And I think
here's all the changes.
all this stuff that we've been going through the last year, you found a lot of this out that we have been running in accordance with the new state laws. And I think we really need to put those in front too as we rewrite our bylaws. So somebody needs to have that.
Because the state law automatically has to go in.
Right, yeah, that doesn't even go to a vote, right, exactly right. So my plan all along was, me, or with the help of someone, would redo the bylaws and then put in the two state law. If you ever looked at, like a state statute, it'll list it and then it'll say, amended by this, and this, because the state's legislature changed it, okay? So our bylaws, I want to have them read the same way. So if we ever take something out of our bylaw because the state law changed, we'll put the state law in and then say amended by state law, property code, section 209, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody will know, well, that's why it's in there. That's why it was changed. And then we'll use that as a working document to go off of making changes that we can make. That's the way I foresee it. There was another question?
I think I agree with what Carolyn was saying. We may have already stated this way, but every time I've been involved with bylaws, there will be a two-sided type display. And the original will be here, and then by line and paragraph and whatever, very specifically, will be replaced by, and then the new version over here, and so everybody really knows it was this way, and we want to change it this way, and that gives a perfect platform for questions. Well, why did we want to put it this way? But I think that needs to be done specifically before we ever open it up to the whole membership. And then people can make suggestions, you can kind of see what you have. Because as Carolyn said, an open-ended meeting to try to revise a whole document is going to be chaos.
Right, and I foresee it will only be revising certain sections, whatever the committee decides.
Well, as I say, it needs to be very clear. It was this way, and we want to make it
change
this way.
it this way,
Right,
so they can see the
right
whole
there.
and then
Right.
that makes sense.
And just be able to know why the change is being made. And then, or we can sit out and I guess you could just, kind of rewrite the whole thing. That would be another.
No, she's, I'm with Carolyn. So Lana, would you like to be on the committee? Since apparently you're
Sure.
obviously this is just being formulated now, so we'll get some more specifics out in the letter, and probably at the March meeting, we'll finalize all this at the March meeting. That gives us 2 months to work on it. Well, not quite 2 months, because we had to get the letters out 10 days before the meeting, so it gives us, about 6 weeks. Is that enough time, you think, Carolyn? Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking so intelligent about it. If you want to be a portion. Yes. Well, even if you're not interested, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think that'll work, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'll volunteer on that committee too.
Okay. We'll actually finalize the actual committee and stuff next meeting, okay?
We can use your expertise, I'm sure. I'm serious on
I mean, I think it's great that, you know, so many people, you know, want to get involved again in the community. And, because we all have different skills to offer, and just people showing up and showing support, I think is pretty awesome. So next is Kim Theoff. She's been working on the lights in the park, because as you all know, they've been out for a long time. So where are we at with that, Kim?
I don't know how long they've been out. Someone tell me.
Well,
8 months.
Sometime after the flood, the great flood.
Since this past November, previous November. So for over a year, the one in the middle of.
I was just curious. So as of today, or yesterday, the lights are both working. One has been updated to the LED light, the one that's more in the middle, if you will, of the open area. And the other one is scheduled to be updated. The pole's laying there. I don't know why they didn't do them both at the same time. I called yesterday and I spoke to a really nice lady named Bernie at GP&L. She said she couldn't give me an ETA, but it is coming. So next I asked her who was responsible for the great ruts they put through our park area. So she was supposed to transfer me to the park department. But what happened was I kind of swirled her into another topic because I had one more question, and she transferred me to the department that's going to answer that question for me, where I had to leave a message. So I kind of didn't get an answer because of my poor choice to go off on this other question. The other question is about the green boxes along Broadway that are all wonky looking. We were wanting to kind of see what we could do to get those to look less unsightly. And so she transferred me to the engineering department. So we're working on that, and I'm working also on getting those ruts taken care of. So I will let you know, or you might be able to see what happens. So that's what's going on with that. Yay!
Lights in the park.
Lights in the park. Hopefully no more drug use, right?
Okay, now we can talk about TOPS 1. I'm sure nobody has a clue what that is. So TOPS 1 is a software program specifically tailored to managing HOAs. Okay, it's going to reduce our operating costs a lot because we won't be having an outside management company. This is going to run us about $350 a month. You'll be able to log on to your account, see your balance. You can do it from a smartphone. You can do it from your computer at home. For those that don't have internet access, you'll just pay with a coupon, through the mail at the lockbox or stopping at the bank. You'll see things on there like you can put in a service request. The board will immediately see it. There's a work order tracking process. And Mark actually has a demo, so you think we need to spin the lights or it's good?
I think it's probably good. How do you guys?
Is it good? Okay, so let's.
Sam and I started looking at this company.
Yeah, tell us a little more. Yeah.
And this is just about the company. We selected it. And that's that.
We have another short
And then
one.
we have this one that shows you how it works.
Yeah, this is
From your
from your side, right?
it'll be a fairly intensive effort, but it's going to be predictable. We may end up bringing on a temp person to do data entry for us. But it should do a pretty decent job for us. It should do a pretty decent job.
Will it have that ability to post violations, like eventually for people that might be leaving their trash cans out, or, we have a whole list of things.
We control the roles, and every person has a role, might be on a architectural control committee, might be a board member, might be an officer, might be a homeowner, but it allows you to consolidate all of this for.
And then too, they show the light, and same thing, if we had something like this before, the people that are walking their dogs could have said, when's this light gonna be fixed?
Yeah.
Right, just post it on there and then the board will see it.
Right.
I mean, we might not have been aware of it immediately until someone brings it to our attention, and
The
we can respond to it.
The application on the iPads and iPhones and other phones is designed for people that are homeowners or just walking around the neighborhood. There's another version that we access from desktop systems to get more functionality, easier to use kind of thing. So it's a big improvement. I hope everybody has internet access or has phone with data access, because that would be really nice for you to have.
And okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna ask how it contrasts in cost with the previous property management company.
Okay, so with the previous management company, we were running about $1,100 per month. And that didn't account extra fees for like printing, copies, things like that. This is gonna run us $350 a month.
Plus maybe the data entry person?
Well, actually, we haven't discussed that before. This is the first I've heard of it. It depends on how much data entry has to be inputted, because Vision Communities was actually using TOPS Professional, okay, which is for like a management company. We're using TOPS 1, where we're going to self-manage, and people can actually go in and see their whole account. And they provided us their TOPS folder. So everything should be integrated, should be easily integrated according to TOPS, just from that flash drive. So I think the data entry should be pretty minimal, and Jeff and I could do that.
I have no problem.
Yeah, if you want to volunteer to do that, that's fine.
Yeah.
There's a ton of it, because they only bring over the balances.
So that, do not bring over the history?
No. They don't bring over any history. They bring over the balances. The history import has a problem. So
Can we view the history off of the flash drive they gave us?
you can go looking for it, yeah.
Okay.
I found some stuff.
And how about the account, like the actual accounts?
The accounts,
So you have the homeowners.
the
and
homeowner
their
addresses and
addresses.
their balances go forward. They tried to convert history about a year ago. They weren't successful. And so, because there is collections history, legal history, all kinds of histories associated with each property. And I don't know why they didn't do it, because it's something I would do if I were in charge of the project, but they didn't. And they won't say when it will be done. But what they've guaranteed they can do is get us our balance and get us our properties and go forward from there. I have found the notes for each account and accessed them, but they're not readily accessible. So it's a little bit different.
Jerry?
Who maintains the server? Because you're showing me how
It's in the cloud.
It's in the cloud.
Who?
In the cloud?
It's in the cloud.
It's included with our monthly.
What kind of security is involved in the cloud?
What kind of security does TOPS 1 provide us?
TOPS 1 provides us with same level of security that the rest of the cloud has.
Now, you're saying it's in the cloud. I understand the cloud. I also understand there's a piece of hardware back there that's controlling it. You don't hack into a cloud, you hack into hardware.
Actually, you can hack into the cloud.
Well, you
The
can.
facts are, there's the credit card information, they actually use a third-party, highly secure, top-rated company if you ever want to do any credit card transactions. And we don't really use any secret information other than that, that they actually use an outside entity who's rated for securing that information. They're going to be as secure as any other thing. If you got Gmail, if you got Facebook, if you use iPhone, or if you use Android, you're all connected to the cloud whether you know it or not.
But we don't use
And you said the management company was using the same
They were
software,
using-
the early, a different version.
They were using Tops Pro, which was a locally based non-cloud product.
So they were on a server though.
Yeah, they were on the server. So your information was actually less secure with the old management company.
Does that answer your question well
Yeah,
enough,
it's
Jerry?
still on the server. You got to set up on hardware and once it's on the main to the cloud.
I guarantee you it's on the server.
Okay. Any other questions regarding going this route? Yes, ma'am.
If someone has, something goes wrong at home and they put that on there immediately, how quick can they, say it's the sprinkler system suddenly, the lock, the yard is flooded, how soon could they expect a response, and what would they do about that?
Well, the way this works, the board would be notified immediately, okay? And we get a notification. I've actually had 2 situations already since we've been elected where somebody had an emergency situation, which is flooding so bad she had to turn off her main valve. So I got somebody out to their house the same day, got it fixed. I got another call yesterday, actually an email. When her sprinkler system, one of the valves broke and it was leaking, I told her I could have someone out today. Someone's coming out today. But I did go drive to see how bad it was, because if the leak was really bad, then I would have got somebody out yesterday. But the leak wasn't that bad. Whereas the first lady's leak, she actually had to turn off her main and she didn't have any water in her house. But we got that fixed like within 2 hours.
So with this, it would notify you, and somebody, if it's an emergency situation, somebody would take care of it right away, and be aware of it, and get in contact with whoever is doing it.
Right. And our plan is when a resident has a problem, this type of problem, we're going to get on it right away. We're not going to let it go.
How do we get this Tops program? Is it set up yet?
Mark, when are we expected to go live? Is it still March 1st?
Yeah.
Okay.
We will actually have, we're shooting ahead of that so that we can make March 1st. That's what we committed to, is March 1st.
So, so what'll happen is we'll send out notices and tell you, the link, set up your login and your password, and then you'll see your account balance, and set up auto pay monthly, things like that. Anything else? Carolyn?
Looking at the minutes from December, number 4, that last sentence on number 4 is that the judge is discussing regarding the selling of the domain name. This is going to come. Is that
What was the question?
I'm going back to the
minutes of December 29th.
right, number 4, and the domain name, which I just done to start out with web-based HOA.
Well, there's an integration point between if you have a separate site outside the Cox. We actually copied down the entire website for what it's worth. And I've got it right here. Well, it's actually on the cloud. So this is the old website.
Which doesn't exist, by the way.
Yeah.
Andy Wilson shut it down.
Yeah.
So that's not been resolved, but has been resolved in the report.
Well, it's been resolved in the fact that we downloaded all the information from that website. So, and Mark has purchased some other domain names very inexpensively, so we can set up a new one. So we have a public presence outside of Tops. People are researching to move in and things like that.
So that's $600 for more issues and questions on that after.
No, we didn't pay her anything because we didn't purchase the domain name. Because you wouldn't provide us with proof that she owned it. I asked her if she had a purchase price in mind, and, want to share all the email correspondence, if anybody wants to see it, and forward it to anybody. We asked her if she had a purchase price in mind, and then I asked her for the registrant information to see, make sure she owned it, because I don't know if that Broadway Village owned it, and she, I'll just be blunt, she blew up saying I was questioning her integrity because I asked for the registrant information. And I said, Annie, I said, it's no different than me buying a used car. I'm not going to buy a used car without seeing the title. And so what it came down to was, she said she was going to shut it down January 1st, never gave us a purchase price that she talked about. These are prices that we talked about as a board, and she never gave us a purchase price. And then she said, well, I'm going to shut it down January 1st, and I said, I promise I'll have everything downloaded by then. So I downloaded all the information, and then she shut it down, and that was the end of that.
It was all copyrighted to the association. Not sure why, but that's what it stated at the bottom of everything.
Yeah, see Broadway Village.
Right here.
And I asked her about that, and she really didn't tell me anything. But that meant.
So technically, we own all the contents by copyright law. But she doesn't want to give up the domain name for some reason. So I've gone out and acquired probably about 3 or 4 others, that would be acceptable. And it's kind of sad because we were offering her money just to move it. And for some reason, she didn't want to take it.
Yes, Kim.
Kind of off of that, back to the talks thing. If someone doesn't have a computer, they're still going to be able to make maintenance requests and things like that. There's not going to be, it's not a necessity that you use the talks.
No. And if you needed a state code, give me that. I'll send you a state.
Right. Yeah. If you have a service request, it's like last week, one emailed me, one called me. So it'll slow it down.
It's just easier.
So next thing, we have a presentation by Cassandra. She's been researching playgrounds. And I don't know if you've all noticed, but we've been getting more and more kids in our neighborhood. Now, it's hard to tell because they don't come out because they have nothing to do. So Cassandra's been researching some different options for playgrounds. But you can get both.
We can read that.
I live at 407 Atherton, and I have 2 special needs children. I have an 11-year-old autistic child, and then I have a 80-year-old epileptic child who actually has a VNS in his chest. He has anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 seizures a month. We get a treatment in Houston. And when we first moved in, they saw the tire swing and the jungle gym that was there. And my 8-year-old got a scratch about this size on his leg, and I had to take him to his PCP, and it turned out to be staph. And he had to be on antibiotics for a month. And so me and my husband volunteered with the old HOA to tear down the old,
Playground.
were told that, we would not be reimbursed for our time or our effort, and that, there were holes left from tearing it down. So the left side was good, we had to dig it up. But on the right side, Sam came to help. I know that everyone knows that Sam had open heart surgery. He had to come out to help. And the lady that lives right behind the playground, I cannot remember her name. She's got a buzz cut and like a whatever it's called, a bob.
Sam,
Anyways,
who helped you out fill those holes in? Was it Kathy? That's like.
With the hose. Yeah, it was, no, it was Dina Foster.
Oh, Dina.
she let us use a water hose to get the ground a little wet to dig it up. Anyways, so, we had just kicked the left side and it fell. And had some kid who weighed a little bit more than my oldest, who weighs 120 pounds, had been a plane on the tire swing, could have been hurt really, really bad. And then we noticed little bitty bugs. So it had been infested with termites, really, really bad. So anyways, we also hauled the stuff off, the metal stuff, and then we put the wooden stuff out at the curb where the junk people would pick it up. It took them about 3 weeks to pick it up. But anyway, my point is that the old HOA refused, we submitted an invoice for our time because it took us about 3.5 hours to tear it down in 110-degree weather. We submitted an invoice. They refused to pay us for our time and our effort. My point is that the thing had been asked to be torn down for 10 years and they refused to tear it down. The jungle gym, a part of it, was infested with rust. Me and my husband had rust on our hands for days and days and days. We kept having to wash our hands. Anyways, but my point is, my 8-year-old was on antibiotics for 10 days because he got a staph infection from a scratch from a nail that was sticking out. So we chose to get it removed because it was dangerous. And so I'm eternally grateful that you are taking upon yourself to add something that's going to be suitable, that's going to be primed for the weather, and that's going to be weather appropriate, that's going to be not rickety and rackety and acceptable for children to play in. Because my next door neighbor also has an 11-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're stuck in the house. If the pool is not open, there's nothing in our neighborhood for our kids to do. If we lived in an apartment, apartments have playgrounds. But if we live in a house and we pay $99 a month for HOA, and all we do is get our yards mowed and trash ending up in our yard.
Well, that's hopefully gonna change. We've been working on the playground bit, but of course there's a lot of different projects, and so those are gonna have to be prioritized, and,
Well,
there's gonna have to be a budget.
And I understand.
So, I just put together options for you guys to see what I've been looking at. I've spoken to 3 different commercial playground companies. This one is American Parks and Company. The representative is Mark, and he seemed to be the most helpful, the most knowledgeable, and the most fair price. So he's put together several quotes for me. This is what the commercial playgrounds look like. They can go into the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. So I tried to pick something a little on the lower end that would still be able to be used between the ages of 2 and 12 is what these are based on. The quotes that I've gotten include the trim that will go around the playground, the mulch for the floor. They'll have an ADA compliant ramp for children. And then there's 2 different sets of swings here. We have a 1-bay swing set and a 2-bay swing set. Sam likes the 2-bay swing set. The 1-bay swing set, however, there's so many different code rules for it. You have to have a huge clearance for a swing set. There has to be a 9-foot clearance in the front, a 9-foot clearance in the back, 6 feet between the swing and the poles, and it just kind of goes on and on from there. So we have to kind of look at the space we would be using as well, because of course in the future we would maybe like to add some more things to that area. So these are the 2 swing sets that we're looking at. And then do you want to scroll down one? So I was also hoping to put in a couple of benches for the parents to sit and talk. Of course, we want the kids to play. Yes, ma'am.
If you do this, are you going to add a swing for children who have disabilities?
I will look into that and see what options there are for this company.
Okay.
So we hope to, while the kids play, the point is to bring the community together, so hopefully the adults can sit as well. I would like to see a couple of trash receptacles. People walk their animals. We expect them to keep up after themselves, so hopefully there's some trash cans maybe we can place within the common areas that would be more accessible for people wanting to throw their stuff away. So I hope to do those things first. Maybe after we get some of the other projects going, just depending on budget, I would hope to add some additional features in like maybe a second phase of upgrades. Maybe some barbecue grills and a couple of picnic benches. And then maybe we can add some different kind of playground equipment, something more active like tetherball equipment. Those are pretty fair price. The basketball goal, and then I don't have it on here, but I don't know if you guys would be interested in putting up like poles for volleyball nets and stuff like that. So that's just all different kind of things that we can look at, but definitely the playground, the benches, and the trash cans.
Would you put a fence around the basketball goal?
So
I know that we had talked about, me and Sam had talked about putting a fence where that just me and him talking. We have the keys to the pool where we could make the locks on the fence the same as the lock on the basketball goal.
So the area that will be fenced has not been set in stone, and of course, I'll give the information to the board, and then however they distribute it to you guys and it's voted on, that'll be up to them. But we did have a brief conversation about fencing in a larger area, because we hope to, when we do pool upgrades, get a camera system that'll protect that area as well. If kids are playing, of course that'll all be recorded. So, yes, Jesse?
Sorry, just a question. Have you guys considered maybe like a dog run or like a little dog park?
I would like to see a dog park, or, there's
Because some of us
some little
don't have
grassy.
kids, some of us have pets.
Right.
And it'd be nice to
Some
have
have
like a
both.
little
There's so
area.
much room that we can
Yeah.
have a playground, a dog park, the basketball goal. There's just so much room over there.
I know we're on Menlo Park, and at the end of Menlo Park, there's a grassy corner area that's not being used for anything. And I don't see why we couldn't use that for a dog area.
You want my opinion?
Yeah, all of these things can be done in different phases. You know, I would like to see tons of stuff done, but of course we have to prioritize. I know that the cabana needs to be redone. So we're looking at, do you want to get into the whole cabana thing real quick, or?
I guess shortly, so the cabana, Cassandra's already put some stuff together. We're actually looking at, after this summer, this fall, starting on phase 1 of the cabana. Our idea is to extend it out about 800 square feet. Here's a
I don't know if you
diagram.
can see it, but there's like a yellow line here where we can expand the fence a little bit and maybe put additional seating here. And we're hoping,
Chairs.
and chairs. Yeah. We're hoping to be able to budget in an enclosed clubhouse facility, an interior and exterior bathroom, and maybe a partition wall. We could put an HOA office in, and then maybe a little fridge and sink area for birthday parties, and then a partition wall. So we would actually, hopefully by then, be able to have our HOA meetings at our own clubhouse. So it's just kind of, you know, budgeting all of this in and doing it in phases.
And we have money to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason, given our financial status, and Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, since he's the treasurer, that we can't start on the cabana project this fall.
Or maybe the next one.
At least split up into 2 phases. Yes, Jesse?
Just a question, if and when that project starts, the old fence, that's gonna go, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the orange line here is just an idea. Like I said, nothing set in stone. Maybe we can fence in this area around the orange line, have the playground there, basketball court here, and then whatever kind of fence is required around the pool so that the smaller children can't access that. And that way this whole area would be secured and monitored by video surveillance.
Yes. Yeah,
And we still have a grassy area outside of the fence for anybody who didn't bring their keys. I think me and the board hopefully will look at the difference between key cards and key fobs that will access the gate and the clubhouse.
We have a question over here. I'll get to you next, Guy, okay? Yes, ma'am.
The way the pool is now, the way it's gonna be this summer.
Yes.
Do we have anybody who, I haven't been to the pool in 15 years, because when I used to go, it was so, the kids were allowed to run wild and do whatever they wanted, and there was just, things were thrown in the pool. Is there gonna be any kind of supervision down there at all times? Or how do we stop that? Because you do all this and people still throw the stuff into the pool and wreck it like they had before.
My thought on that is we'll have a video surveillance, so if anybody needs to make a report on something they see that is inappropriate, we can then go back on the video, see who's responsible, and maybe approach the homeowner about an offense.
Well, they used to have a phone, and they said that's, well, call.
That's an emergency phone there.
Well, I mean, that's years ago, but it did not work, because people don't, they don't, number one, the kids who are doing it, or the people who are there being responsible, are not necessarily going to give you their name and number.
Well, so a lot of that vandalism was coming outside.
I know a lot of it was,
Yeah.
a lot of it came from outside, or from people who really weren't home. The
Hold on, can I
basketball.
ask you one question? So when was the last time you were at the?
Well, I've been, it's been 15 years, because I stopped going, because it was so bad down there.
Okay, because prior to this last summer, I was head of the pool committee, and it got to the point where I got residents to self-monitor. So if something was going bad, they'd text me, they'd call me, and if most of the time I am home because I'm retired, so I'd be right out there. If I wasn't home, I had backup people that would be out there. So it has gotten better. Now this past year, I didn't handle the pool, David Wallace did. And I'm happy to go back to handling the pool. It's something I enjoyed. I get to meet people, gets me out of the house since I work out of the home.
There is a plan, that's what I was basically saying.
Yeah.
There is a plan now that makes sure that it doesn't go awry like it used to.
Right, so, right. I'm sorry, Guy was next.
No, no.
Okay, Guy?
Sam, I was just thinking that several years ago, we had a basketball hoop and the whole works out there. We had so many people coming in, they took over and had to take it down.
Right.
Do you, anybody remember that?
Oh, yeah. That was before I heard who did it, but I heard about that.
Are we saying we're gonna put another one up?
Well, but it would be fenced.
Or be inside
And
the
they'd only be able to be
Like
accessed by a homeowner who had the access key to access that play area.
Okay, well, that might work.
And so hopefully too, that would cut down because, you know, you're gonna have a key card or a key fob or something that accesses that fence. So a child wouldn't be able to access that area alone either without their parent who would then hopefully monitor their children.
Okay.
And I'll be out there monitoring. I like to play basketball, so I'll be out there playing and monitoring.
Me too.
Keep off, which we've been pushing for years at the
We
pool.
have a question.
If something is destroyed, you have a pretty good idea if I asked the pool monitor was out there at 11 and everything was fine and went back out at 6 and things were destroyed, you have an idea of what family has been in that area.
Right.
And with a camera, even better.
Okay, before we get to you, Tim, we have a question back here.
No, I was just gonna comment about the
Okay.
basketball court. I've lived here for a long time, and I used to take my little nieces up there. And it's not the children outside the neighborhood, it's the teenagers and the young adults that invade, and they tear it down. We put up a new one, they tore it down like within a week. So whatever security system you have would have to be fail-safe, so they can't climb over the fence, because they will. The ones across the streets, once they find out there's a basketball court.
I know a lot of times too, like I have security cameras on my home, and you can choose how sensitive you want them to be. So if we have cameras in that area, it can also send alerts to the person who's monitoring that area. So if 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, there's some activity, it'll then alert your phone, and then somebody can go and check and see what's going on.
And they can be voice activated like the ring.
Tammy, then you, okay. Tammy.
I would just like to point out something. Okay, I had a stroke back in 2017. Even though Sam was not taking care of the pool last year, I have him into my phone, I can pull it up, and it says Sam with the pool guy. I called him last year to let him know that would be, I don't know what it's called, helping me remember. The thing
The bar to help you get out of the pool?
was a Wrigley. I call him immediately. He came and he fixed it like a bat. So I'm just saying that Sam is the go-to guy in our neighborhood. I'm just being honest.
But we can't go to see
Okay,
it.
sounds like I'm not gonna have free time to myself.
I don't mean that.
I know, I'm just being sarcastic, Tammy.
I don't mean, even though he was not the pool guy this summer, some kids had been down there playing on it, and I had got to get out of the pool and I failed. It was so wiggly that you could turn it all the way around. And I think that maybe you guys were actually down there swimming. I don't know. Somebody wasn't down there swimming with their green hair, and they helped me get out the pool because I fell. And then they said, "We'll call Sam the pool guy." Anyways, I called him immediately. He came and fixed it. And then the fence, I know most of you guys that don't use the pool. It was not able to be locked this last year. And so kids from the apartments were coming over and using our pool this summer because the gate was not able to be locked. I called Sam. He called someone else, and they brought over one of their grinders and it fits the fence, and we were able to lock it because it was dragging on the concrete. We were able to lock it. So I'm just saying, Sam being our president is the best thing to happen to this HOA in the last 30 years, 50 years, 75 years.
Well, first of all, we need to get the budget numbers, so we know what kind of thing.
Okay, we got 2 more questions. Okay, first, this lady over here.
Wouldn't it make sense to make a list of possible amenities, send it out to the homeowners, and let us prioritize them? I personally don't think we have enough teenage residents to justify a basketball court. But I think it's an open invitation to one teenage resident to invite every kid he knows.
We can do that. We're actually planning on sending out a survey on what people want for the amenities for the cabana. So we can send out a similar survey for that also. That's a good idea.
That's gonna be going out in the mailing.
In the next mailing, probably the next couple of
When we
weeks.
first moved in here 40 years ago, we had a sand volleyball court out there with posts and a net. So we bring out from the cabana and hang on weekends and stuff. We had groups that played out there.
And then we had a question over here. Ma'am, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, this may be premature. Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I thought I saw your hand raised.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know if you were looking at somebody behind me.
No.
It may be premature, but with all the new amenities and the cabana, do we know how it's going to affect their dues, like increases or anything?
Yes, it's not going to affect your dues whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, in fact,
So tell them how much we have in the bank, and then like $260,000.
He already has.
The actual cash on hand is $194,000.
And that, first of all, we've got to plan our budget. I mean, we got to know
Yeah,
how much money we must put into each pot.
Right, and our operating expenses for the past few years have only been running $100,000 a year, and we've been collecting $211,000. And when they raised the dues, they were collecting $240,000, even though our operating expenses were running under $110,000 for the entire year. So we have the money. In fact, the one audit report said we had, I think it was 2017 report, said we had $160,000 in unappropriated money. And just unappropriated. You know, it's not earmarked for anything. And as a nonprofit HOA, we cannot have unappropriated money. It has to be earmarked for a certain project. Otherwise, the IRS will come back and tax us on that money.
And they're gonna budget for these projects.
Right. But we won't have to raise the dues.
I mean, we can't put Six Flags in the middle of our,
No.
of our community, but there's a budget for everything. And there's other things we're working on. Me and Sam actually have a meeting at 2 p.m. today to speak with the landscaping contractor about a new landscaping contract, the sprinkler system in the pool. They actually do all 3, so we're going to see if we can save some money by combining that all into one company.
I have a question. Now, will that also include R&M maintenance for our homeowners? We need, for example, fencing, roof repair, that kind of stuff for our homeowners. We need to take that into consideration in our budget.
Right.
So, what we probably need to do, if we have not ready, is check out contractors that can help us with that on individual homeowners' needs.
Right now we're just getting bids. This is just things that we're getting bids on to see where we can save the money, who offers the most for what we're paying. I know that a lot of people haven't been happy with the landscaping contractors.